That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. Happy Monday. Like, happy Monday. I can't say it in good faith. I can't welcome you in here and say happy Monday. I just can't, especially if you're a Notre Dame fan. If you're Kent, the local Ohio State resident who lives in my chats, then you'll like it. Rainy, cold Monday morning in Chicago. I am Benny, me too. Not in the mood for Kent. Like, even after the Ohio State loss, I played along with Kent. I ain't in the mood for these games currently. So, folks, I imagine there's a lot, and I mean a lot of Notre Dame folks that struggled to get out of bed and go to work and keep a straight face this morning. I got a feeling there's going to be some hell given to people around the water cooler today. So, that being said, do hit subscribe on YouTube if you haven't yet. I'd appreciate it. Give the video a thumbs up, helps in the search algorithm. Notifications on, you'll be alerted every time John does an impromptu post-game call-in show. Perfect for notifications, folks. Wasn't planning on doing it Saturday, but the moment was so extreme, and so catastrophic. I just had to. I had to go live, so you don't want to miss it. So notifications on for that. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish Rat, Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you want me, you can get me, except for the call-in shows, because 2 hours is too long for me to convert over to MP3. So you got to go to YouTube for those. 312-900-8815 is the number. So now we're in a situation, Notre Dame folks, and I do see a couple people calling. That's beautiful. We're going to get through a bunch of calls today. Trust me. I got a couple things to say, and then we'll get into it. We're sitting here a couple days post this Marshall shocking result. And I think 2 days later, I felt like maybe I'd feel a different way about this. I just don't. Notre Dame is in a very, very, very bad spot right now. And I know a lot of times, folks, I understand my role and niche in this fan base. A lot of times I am Mr. Glass Half Empty, Mr. Negative, Mr. Too High of Standards, Mr. Nothing's Good Enough. Listen, folks, it doesn't matter what standard. This wasn't good enough. And this was different. Losing to Ohio State's one thing, but when you lose to Marshall in the fashion you did at home, you have real problems. So now the issue is the entire dynamic of what this season is totally up for grabs. Totally up for grabs. The dynamic of all this changed, not from the Ohio State loss, from this loss. So now a whole new batch of questions that we didn't think we were going to have to ask. Now you have to ask. A whole lot of things you maybe didn't want to think about doing, you now have to maybe do. It just changes everything. Before I got on here, people were tweeting, are we going to be able to handle Cal? Folks, when you're playing the way Notre Dame is playing, every potential game is a loss. They have real severe issues. Notre Dame could lose any game on the schedule. When you play the way you played against Marshall at home, you are not in a position to take anybody for granted, especially nobody. And that's what you bring on when you allow this to happen at home. That's what it's going to be. So for the rest of the year, you're going to have a couple different dynamics at the same time. One of them is, how did we get here? How did we get here in the position we find ourselves in right at the moment? How are we here? How do we get out of it to win a game short term to stabilize this? And then long term, what do you change so you're not in this position again? I'm telling you, Marcus Freeman made life a lot harder on himself by this 0-2 start. And again, it isn't Ohio State. We would have been fine if it was just Ohio State. And even if you half-ass win against Marshall, you got your win for Marcus at home, stabilize things, beat Cal. Now you feel better about things. That's all out. That's all out. So you have real problems. And life just got really hard on Marcus. Year one got hard on Marcus. I said this on both of my post-game shows, folks. I said this before. Any question now is fair. It is. When you do this against Marshall, all questions are fair about coaches, about players, about playing time, about development, about is Freeman on the right track, building this out because we're not getting the results. They're all fair. Asking, is Marcus too much of a buddy with the players doing videos in Vegas instead of getting serious about winning these games? I liked those things. The Vegas movie, all the cool stuff, everybody loving Marcus. I loved all that. I love all that. The issue is that was before you lost your first 2 games. Now you lost 2 games. While I still like those angles for recruiting, fair question to ask. When you lose to Marshall at home, every question can be asked. The question, should Marcus be fired? He doesn't know. It doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. The answer to that's no, but I don't blame you for asking the damn question right now. When I say all questions, feel free to ask them. The one of, should Marcus be gone now through 2 weeks in and 3 games in, is ridiculous. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Go ahead and ask it, though. Go ahead and ask it, though. He hasn't won a game at Notre Dame. Go ahead and ask these tough questions. Go ahead. Go ahead. So, all right, phone lines are getting busy. So we're going to hit a couple of these questions that I marked because I wanted to hit, and then we'll start getting into the people. And Jelly or Pine moving forward. I got up early this morning hoping to see on Twitter some more information about Tyler Buckner's injury situation. I think it was Pete Sampson was writing with the notion that it's Pine, and I'm assuming Sampson may know. Here's the deal. I've said this before, folks. I said it. The key to this year accomplishing Notre Dame's goals, the number one key was Tyler Buckner. 1, staying healthy. 2, being really, really good. Those were requirements, in my opinion, for Notre Dame to accomplish their goals this year. Buckner, stay pretty healthy, can get banged up, come out for a few series or a half, but he had to stay relatively healthy, and he had to develop and be really, really good. Now, we don't have either of those things going on. He wasn't really good pre-injury, and now he's hurt. So, really bad spot there. Pine or Angeli, it's going to be Pine. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I had this on my list of things to talk about. When I was at the blue and gold game, Angeli looked more comfortable than Pine and Buckner. He just did. As a guy sitting there watching the game, Angeli looked more comfortable. Now, I know it's just the blue and gold game. Who cares? It's a practice. How do you measure the blue and gold game? What you see versus 30 practices we don't see? I understand all that, folks. I'm just telling you with my eyes, Angeli looked more comfortable running the Notre Dame offense than Buckner and Pine did in the blue and gold game. Take that for whatever you want. If we're running with Pine, it's just bad. It's just bad. Like, he's less physically gifted than Buckner. So, and he came right in the game and made the same mistake Buckner did, threw the ball right to the other team. So the offense was already terrible with Buckner. Now you're putting in a less physically gifted quarterback into that dynamic moving forward. How do you think that's going to play out? That's the issue, folks. There are no answers. There are no easy answers to any of these problems. None. That is the toughest part, man. You can't identify 1 or 2 little things, tweak them, and Notre Dame's up and running. You have issues freaking everywhere. So the offense was already bad with Pine, where their best The only way Notre Dame's offense is moving the ball against Marshall was Buckner running for his life or Mayer finds a way to get open. I'm telling you, if it's Pine, he doesn't have the physical gifts of Buckner to even do that part. So you're in a really, really bad spot, folks. You are. I guess you could say you're lucky you play Cal and not BYU or North Carolina or something this week. You are and you aren't. You're lucky you play Cal because it gives you an opportunity to maybe find a way to win a game. You're unlucky if you play Cal, if Cal and Marshall beat you at home. I'm going to this game. How do I put this? I'm very much looking forward to seeing my friends and business associates in South Bend before the game. That's what I'm going to say. I ain't excited for this game. I'm scared. I'm not excited for this game. I'm horrified at what I might see. I'm excited to go to South Bend, be on campus, see my people. I am not excited for that ball game. I'm just not. Oh my gosh. This is a really important, man, this is just going to be a tough week, Notre Dame folks. It is. We're just going to struggle. It's going to be a very long week. Man, this is rough. Where do we even start? All right, I know where I'm going to start. I'm going to start right here. The big question is Freeman or the Endies QB's poor performance to blame for Notre Dame's 2 losses. Here's the dynamic here. And when I say things are really, really bad, this is what I mean, folks. Here's the dynamic you're in currently. The quarterback room currently is in shambles. It is in a terrible, unbelievably horrific place for a program that has won as much as Notre Dame has in the last handful of years. So that's a Brian Kelly problem. It's also a Reese problem, but that's a Brian Kelly quarterback problem. Who he recruited and or developed and or ran off to Boston College or wherever else. All these problems with Brian Kelly and quarterbacks are now our problem. So that's number one. The recruiting, development, and retention of elite level quarterbacks at Notre Dame was always a failure under Kelly. And now that's our problem. So that's number one. Like, people have been saying, how much of this you going to blame on Kelly this week, John? I'm blaming him for poor quarterback and other roster areas and depth. Yes, I do blame him for the quarterback situation because he was in charge of what it is right now. I do blame him for the wide receiver situation. He was in charge for the issues we have there right now. But what I can't blame Kelly for is losing to Marshall at home. It's tough. You got to separate it in your minds. It's not Kelly's. My issue with Kelly is he didn't give us enough talent to beat the best teams on our schedule. Even Kelly was able to beat the teams we should beat at the end of his tenure. Now we're not doing that. That's a huge issue. It's a huge issue. So the quarterback problem is Kelly partially with recruiting and development and retention. That's a problem. But adding on to that problem, the wide receiver issue, that makes the quarterback problem worse. Adding on to that, the offensive line that was supposed to be a strength and it's not. That's another issue. So when you add all this in the quarterback stew, that's how you end up in a mess. That's a part of why I say there is no quick or easy fix. You ask about the quarterback play, there's 5 other things that have to connect to it. And they all have to make it better. And they're not going to. They're not going to. So you're just in a really crappy spot. You're in a bad spot. I'm telling you. You're in with Pine running this. It's like it's going to look how it did with Buckner, but worse because he doesn't have the physical gifts of Buckner. You guys, this is going to be a long season. This could get rough. There's just no easy solution. So that's my answer on the quarterback one. It's everything. It's the previous regime. It's now. It's all of that. It's all of that. Michael, did Notre Dame change their weight program? Seem to be getting pushed around pretty easily versus Marshall. Both lines getting blown off the ball. Concerning. 100% concerning. I asked that. I said, did Bayless quit? Like, I don't understand. Is Bayless, we all loved him, and now he doesn't know how to do his job? I highly doubt that. That's what starts leading you down the coaching and the scheme and the execution part of this. There's no way in hell Matt Bayless is bad at his job now. No, I refuse to believe that. There's no way in hell Bayless is bad at his job now. That tells me there's preparation, schematics, execution, consistency, fundamentals. All those things must be lacking. They must be, because there's no way in hell Bayless has fallen off this much. We're getting pushed around. Nope. Is Reese fired yet? Probably not, but it's a fair question to ask. And what that does is it causes instability when you ask that kind of thing. Should your current offensive line coach, offense coordinator be fired? You lose stability when those questions are floating around. Doesn't matter. It's a fair question. It doesn't matter. It's a fair question. Seems like we have a lot of weight room warriors on this team. Michael, I'm going to tell you, Mike Goolsby was talking about that. He joined Mike Singer on his program, and he was talking about that. And he goes, these guys did a lot of chirping, a lot of flexing, a lot of we're tough guys, a lot of that bravado, and you're not delivering. So there's a disconnect there. And all that. That's tricky though. I like that attitude. I like that swag. You don't beat a team like Ohio State without having some of that swag. Well, now you're 0 for 2. So it's time to reevaluate your swag level versus your work output. Sorry. But all the questions are fair, folks. I had somebody ask me, phone line's coming up in about 2 minutes, folks. Or taking calls. The line is up, 312-900-8815. I saw on another program last night, I think. I forget where it was. I was trying to bounce around and get a bunch of different opinions on everything going on. And one of the opinions said, I'm wondering if Brian Kelly saw the writing on the wall and saw this coming and skipped out of town. And this was asked genuinely. The host of the show asked, it just really makes me wonder if Kelly took a look at some of this and then skipped town. And if that was a part of all this. I guarantee you, Brian Kelly was acutely aware of this, especially the quarterback dynamic. Who else would be more aware of all of the recruiting and development deficiencies than the guy who's been in charge of them for about the last 11 years? All right, folks. So when you ask, was Brian Kelly aware of this? Of course he was. He's the architect that put the quarterback room in the situation it is in now. So yeah, Brian Kelly was acutely aware. It's just a situation where he gets to cause the problem and not deal with the consequences of it. Absolutely, Brian Kelly was aware. He was the one who created the problems with recruiting in depth and all that. Come on. Of course, Kelly knew. He should know more than anybody else. Oh, man. I was thinking about this last night, folks, and it was really bothering me. And it kept me up at night, not going to lie. How has Notre Dame's quarterback situation been as rough as it has been? How? I genuinely want to know. Like, a lot of questions I ask are rhetorical and sarcastic in nature. This truly isn't. I really want to know. Why is Notre Dame's quarterback situation like this? Why? How can the University of Notre Dame not find one top 10 quarterback a year that is interested in playing and being the quarterback for Notre Dame? I don't understand it. It's really, really frustrating. And I hoped when Kelly was gone, some of that will change, and some of it is. You better hope you keep CJ Carr in the class. You go 3-9, who knows what's going to happen? I'm serious. These are questions you and I don't want to have to talk about at 9:21 on a Monday morning, folks. But these are real ass questions. People were already poaching the top end of this recruiting class when you were undefeated. What do you think's going to happen if you lose half your games? You go 5-7. You have an issue. God, this is all so frustrating. Will decommits come because of this? Cassidy wants to know. Maybe. It's fair to ask. It's fair to worry about. No one can tell you it isn't. And I get it, you guys. I say this all the time. I get it, folks. I get it. We love Notre Dame unconditionally. Even though I am distraught over what is happening, I still love them. It's still my team. I'm still going to follow them and be miserable every week. It's what I do. It's not a choice. It's who I am. That's what I tell everybody when they ask, why do you do this with your sports teams and let this happen? You tell everybody who asks you that in your life, if you're a miserable Notre Dame fan, you tell anybody who says, why do you let sports do this? You tell them all. It's not a choice. It's who I am. You'll never get asked that question again. You just tell them it's not a choice. It's who I am. It's just a part of me. So, I mean, I got an Ohio State guy here saying Reese isn't the problem. It's quarterback and wide receivers. I mean, fine, but Reese has been around. So he had a hand in the quarterback and wide receiver situation that we're in now too. That's the other thing you got to understand. Right? Like Reese, like I want to say Kelly was the architect. Reese has been around too. So I don't know, man. I'm at a loss here. We're going to get the phone lines cranking. 469, you're on the line. Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hey, how you doing, John?
I'm making it. How are you feeling, and where's your mind at right now with everything that's unfolded?
All right. So I'm feeling like it's definitely not going the way we were hoping. However, this is kind of what we should expect when you have a first-time head coach, a young, inexperienced quarterback, and a whole lot of new coaches at various positions.
But wait.
I want to
wait. All right.
Yeah, what's up?
I agree with that. When you're talking about Notre Dame, Ohio State, when you're talking about Notre Dame, Marshall at home, I do not think you have the flexibility to go there because I think there's enough talent on the rosters and you're at home. No matter what it looks like, you need to find a way to beat Marshall at home. Ohio State, I'll give you what you just said. But Kelly left enough talent in the program. You should be able to find a way, even if you struggle, to win against Marshall. So I have to diverge with you there. Like, you have to find a way to still beat Marshall at home, don't you?
Well, here's the thing. This is an issue, big picture. This was simply a letdown game. Plain and simple. Brian Kelly had gotten to the point where we never saw letdown games that led to losses because he reached a point where he won the games he was supposed to win. Marcus Freeman hasn't gotten to that point yet. He's still learning what it is to be a head coach. If you really think about it, he didn't even get a full off season, to be honest, because it was the bowl season. Just days before the bowl game, he was installed as a head coach. He didn't get any preparation for the bowl game. Then it was into recruiting, making sure to hold on to the signing class. Then after that, it was preparing for spring ball. He hasn't really truly had, from beginning to end, a full off season to be able to get the program where he would like. So we really kind of got to pump the brakes.
I mean, I've been saying your main bullet points, I have been talking about through the offseason. The exact things that you said. I was asking those questions about the learning curve for Marcus and the timing being not ideal and all of that. Like, I talked about that all big picture, but I still built in not losing to Marshall at home. Like, I agree with these challenges you're bringing up, but I still, even accounting for them, need you to beat Marshall at home. That's my point. Like, I realized these issues were going to be issues, but not to the point where you're losing to Marshall at home. And also, here's the other thing, man. It isn't just losing to Marshall at home, it's how. If you had a game where a bunch of fluky crap happened, tip balls, weird, like the South Florida loss where it was, we had great offensive drives, but bizarre turnovers on the goal line. Even that could be looked at differently. That wasn't this, though. This was not bizarre or weird things. You got your ass kicked. Marshall physically dominated you. So it's not just the loss, it's how it looks too. That's super concerning to me, is the way it went. We got dominated. That can't happen just because a new coach is there.
Let me ask a question. When Brian Kelly was coach, do you recall a game where they had a tough loss where they were going in expected to lose, but kept the game closer than expected, and the following game they were kind of flat?
Yeah.
Do you remember Brian Kelly having that?
Yeah, Brian Kelly had a lot of those weeks. Toledo was one of those weeks. Ball State was one of those weeks, both at home, by the way. So Brian Kelly definitely had those. However, Brian Kelly was experienced enough. Even he figured out a way to fight those out, make them ugly wins instead of horrible losses, and then keep it moving. So Brian Kelly did have a bunch of those. He did find a way to win them. When he faced a team like this, Brian Kelly started finding a way to win those games. No doubt about it. He did. And that's something we expected to keep up, and now there's an issue. So that's fair. Brian Kelly did get to the point where he was winning these games. On the downside of Kelly, you just knew you weren't going to win the biggest ones either. So you just knew that.
That's exactly where I'm keeping a big picture look, and that's exactly what I'm looking at, is that, yes, it really sucks. Team lost to Marshall. Brian Kelly would have won this game. He would have found a way. Even the team's flat, he would have found a way to push buttons at halftime, something to eke out a win.
He probably would have, but I'm also still glad Brian Kelly's not here. Like I'm like, it's man, you got me. This is a Monday morning and I live in bizarro world. Like, both can be true. I agree with you. This is the exact kind of game Brian Kelly wins ugly by 6 points, grinding it out, and we all complain, but it's a win, and then we keep it moving and we talk about getting better. Brian Kelly would have found a way to win this game, and I'm also glad Brian Kelly's no longer here. So maybe I live in a bizarre world, but that's literally how I feel. Kelly would have found a way to win it. I'm also glad he's gone.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the struggles that caused us not to win it were also Kelly's fault. So it's all this full circle stuff. Nothing in Notre Dame land's normal. I swear, man, we cannot have normal situations. Everything with Notre Dame is extra. It's just extra. This is all bizarre.
Yeah.
So, but how do you move forward? How short term? How do you get through this season, especially if Buckner's hurt? If you're in charge, how do you get this on track where it's stabilized? What's your next move? I'm asking because I'm out of answers. What do you do?
The first thing is, you don't want to do any drastic moves. Fire Reese and fire anybody, and that's not going to work, because all that's going to do is create more instability within the program. So what Marcus Freeman needs to do is be prepared to look at things at the end of the season. But right now, he needs to find a way to stabilize. And the best way to do that is to get into practice and say, hey, look, we have a problem with fundamentals. So right now, we're going to vanilla everything, vanilla the offense, vanilla the defense, focus on fundamentals and keep things simple, stupid. So basically, come game time, they're not doing a whole bunch of reads. They're not doing a whole bunch of, movement and shifts and all that. It's going to look like really boring offense. There's not really much exciting about it.
Isn't that already what it is? Isn't that already what it's been? Isn't that already what it's been? That's the issue. We're already playing in a little box with no outside play with Buckner. What's it going to be now? Like, that's the issue. I thought of this too, man. You're going to have to pare down the offense. Be very simple. We already are, and we can't do anything. It's bad. It's just a bad situation on a Monday morning.
It's actually not as simple. People like to say, well, the offense is already simple. Well, no, because you have all these players. You see pre-snap, they're doing all these switching at the line. Cut all that out. Just line up how you line up. Execute the play. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Move on to the next play. They're really shooting themselves in the foot with all this pre-snap movement, because they're making it too complex, and they're at, can you block somebody? Forget about who's lined up where and switching.
That's a good start.
The defense is doing this.
Yeah, that's a good start. That's a good start.
Damn body.
Who would have thought? What a good start. Now let me ask you this: what do you chalk up the offensive line being a disappointment so far? That's the other issue with all this, folks. When I say there's no easy fixes. When we went into the season, we were saying, we have some questions on both sides of the ball, but we feel really good about both lines being the engine that keeps it all on track. And the defensive line isn't a failure, but it's definitely underperformed. And the offensive line is a failure. What do you account for that? Is Harry still retired and I was lied to, or what?
The only thing I can think of is that we built up Harry Heastand to be this mythical creature that he's really not.
Well, something's wrong. Something's wrong.
If you look at Harry Heastand in the past, when he was at Notre Dame pre-2017, he developed first-round talent individually. But other than the 2017 season, none of the offensive line units were premium units. They had the 2017 line that won the Joe Moore Award, and 2015 was pretty solid. But aside from that, the units as a whole showed deficiencies. When you really look at how much talent they had, those should have been just outright dominant offensive lines, to be honest. So looking back, it kind of begs the question, okay, Harry Heastand, we can believe he's an improvement over Jeff Quinn, but is he really that guy that's going to enable the offensive line to be this dominant force?
Hey,
I don't know about that.
That's a fair question. It's a fair question. I mean, when I say this is all a problem, when the units you were relying on to be your best are not, and you already have the problems you knew you had going into the season on top of it, you have a snowball effect, and it's very, very rough. But we'll see what happens this week. You can't be picky. You just got to find a way to get any win. Thank you very much for the call. Try and enjoy your week, and give me a call again soon.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, John.
No problem. Good thoughts, man. Thank you. Man, this is just...
All right, take care. Go Irish.
Go Irish. This is all just so rough, folks. I mean, we're all grasping for straws. Everything's a fair question to ask. I mean, somebody asked how soon before Freeman gets fired. Like, you guys, this is why Marshall couldn't happen. Like, this is why Marshall couldn't happen. Notre Dame's new coach gets a 6-year deal. Everybody loves him. 2 weeks in, people are asking when he's going to be fired. Like, that's why I say Marshall just couldn't happen. Even if it was an ugly win, fine, because at least you got the main part accomplished. This is such a huge deal because of everything it sparks, man. Practically, this is brutal. Perceptually, it might even be more detrimental. I'm not sure. But people asking, when's Freeman going to get fired? What if they lose to Cal and then you lose to North Carolina and BYU afterwards because they're better than you, who isn't at this point? What happens to Freeman? That's why you got to figure this out, folks. Where is the leadership? Where is the leadership? That's another question. Mike Goolsby brought this up. Former player. He was on a roll last night and he was very upset. And he started talking about these players. Where is your pride? And he said, this is a unique experience because these players had a big role in getting Freeman hired, getting him that job. They all went to bat for Freeman. They all wanted Freeman. He was their guy. And they got their guy. And I got my guy. And this is how they're playing for him. That's an issue. They got their guy. They told Jack, hire this guy. He's the one we want. He's the right guy. And now you're losing to Marshall at home. Where's the accountability? Where's the leadership? This is all bad. It's all bad. Kent Jackson, Brian Kelly would have won. Absolutely. Brian Kelly, this is the type of game Brian Kelly finds a way to win. Also, we probably would have lost to Ohio State by 40 if Brian Kelly was in charge because it's a big game. So you can say Kelly would have won that game all you want. I agree with you. I'm still glad he isn't here because even if Kelly would have beat Marshall, he still wasn't recruiting enough to get this all where it needs to be anyways. So, yeah, like Notre Dame brain is such a messed up thing. It's all contrived and everything's all woven together and you got to follow these trails. Yes, Brian Kelly probably would have won this game. He also probably would have lost the Ohio State one by more. Yeah, Kelly probably would have found a way to beat Marshall. But I also know we have no chance of winning a major bowl game or a playoff game. So really, when you get to that point, what good is the Marshall game? It's a win and it built you a bridge somewhere you were never going to get across with Kelly anywhere. Anyway, see how this is all connected? It's all connected. I am going to tell you one thing, though. A lot of these Notre Dame recruits have a lot more maturity than our fan base. I have seen the fan base just lose their minds, want to burn it all down, fire everybody, fire Freeman after 2 games, all of this. I got sent a video this morning of people doing the whole throw your Notre Dame jersey in the fire pit, burn it and record it and put it on social media. I'm upset too, but that's way over the top, man. If this was Kelly losing to Marshall at home, totally different. It's like year 11 or 12. You can't have that. Totally different. But Marcus, after a couple games, that's too much. Meanwhile, a lot of our recruits are saying, I'm sticking with Notre Dame, committed 100, like wait till we get there, we're going to change it. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Credit to those recruits for being a lot more mature than a lot of our fan base. And I'm not saying I handle everything maturely either, but I'm not burning my Notre Dame jersey. It'd be like, especially the way they cost, I'm not burning that much money. You kidding me? Oh, boy. Back to the calls. 812, we're talking to you.
Hey, John, you there?
I am here. I don't know if I want to be, but I'm here.
How you doing this morning, buddy?
I'm okay. What do you make of all this? Where does this leave you emotionally and mentally?
Mentally, I was all over social media before Scott Frost got fired, going, somebody better be reaching out to Urban and seeing if he's interested.
For what? For what?
Tomorrow.
For what position? Head coach?
Yeah. At the end of the year, if this thing goes 3-9, yeah.
I do not think that has any chance of happening. I'm being honest with you. I'm not like pushing back on your desire for that. I'm just saying I think the odds of that are zero. I do not think they're going to do that. I do not think they want to go down the path of committing to Marcus, making this big a deal about it, giving him a 6-year deal, and then reversing course after 1 year. I don't know if Notre Dame has that in them, and I just don't see that happening. Do you think that's actually realistic at all?
Like you said earlier, I think all options should be on the table. I don't think why is his job safe over everybody else's? All he had to do was not wreck the race car.
Yeah.
Yep. And he took the steering wheel and threw it out the window.
I guess I want to answer your question. Man, I like today. Today is healthy. Today we got the first couple callers. We have little things to disagree on and nuance to discuss. This is perfect. This is healthy. It's exactly why I wanted to do this show. You asked why Marcus is any different. And I guess I look at his developmental track differently because he's the head coach. And I think that changes things. And I think we all knew one of the risks of hiring a guy with no head coaching experience is a tough learning curve. My question all summer was, how does the learning curve present itself? Marshall's a perfect example. Could you learn a lot in a win against Marshall? That would have been ideal. So I'm learning the hard way how these learning bumps are presented to Marcus. But that's why I think it's different, because I think the administration knows he is a bit of a work in progress. The issue now is it couldn't be this big of a work.
You wouldn't have, but he was head coach by committee. It was, this is why kids under 18 can't vote. This is why kids under 21 aren't supposed to drink, because they're not mature enough to make adult decisions.
Well, let me ask this. How much of this decision do you think Swarbrick was weighing the players' opinions on who they wanted? Like, I've been thinking about that, and I don't have the answer of how much did that weigh in all the factors Jack had to think about. And also, we don't know who else was in play for that job. That could have been a part of it too. So there's a lot there that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah, were the players afraid that Luke Fickell was Brian Kelly 2.0? They didn't want to go down that road, so they went, hey, this is an evil we know because he's been here, but there is way too much comfort in that locker room.
Yeah. Now I will say, listen, it's fair. And that's a bullet point that I had. And it's actually one of the standalone shows I'm going to put out later in the week. At what point does the players coach thing end up hurting you? And is that in play? Again, yeah. I hate having to ask that, because one of the things I love most about Marcus is that relationship dynamic between him and the players. However, when you lose to Marshall at home and you have way more talent, you're a 20.5-point favorite, it is fair for people to start asking, are we making too many movies? Are we all too buddy-buddy?
Yeah.
Is that it's fair? Hey. I hate that because I like that about Marcus. But when you do this, it's fair to ask if it's going too much to that side. It's fair. I hate it, but it's fair.
Yes. All summer, the pet name J-Pat. Oh, yeah, J-Pat's looking good. Call him by his name. Be an adult. Be the adult in the room. And who is the biggest debutante this weekend? J-Pat. You built it. You made it. You got it. You shit your bed. Now you got to lay in it.
So let me ask you this. What do you do to get through this season? We could talk about bigger picture stuff with Reese or whatever we want, and bigger picture quarterback room. How do you get through what you're in now? That's the real issue. You need to put a tourniquet on and find a way to stop the bleeding. How would you do it?
Yes. There was, I was on the call-in line Saturday night. You got busy. I hung up. I wasn't going to make you stay on here Saturday night. I get it. You were talking about a coach meeting Sunday. I was like, oh God, no. If they're not in his office right now, literally 9 o'clock Saturday night. If they're not in his office right now, that is the problem.
Yep, it's
you do the the players on Sunday. You have all day Sunday. You grown men who are making grown man money need to take a couple hours out of your day, Saturday evening, and sit down and try to fix it.
Yep. That this is crisis mode. There's no doubt about it. You need to find a way to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it looks like against Cal. You got to find a way to get through that one, get a win, put the fire out a little bit, find a little breathing room. Listen, man, tough. These are tough discussions. I hate it.
At this point, I'm not even interested in a win. At this point, I'm interested in not seeing a bunch of spoiled brats at this point.
Well,
I don't even care if they win. I just want them to play. Act like you. What do you say in the spring game? Act like you've been here before.
Yep. It's, hey, man, your frustrations are fair. And today is a day where I can't really tell anybody not to feel what you're feeling. I'm just telling you, though, anybody hoping for Marcus Freeman to be out of here, it ain't going to happen. They're going to give this guy a few years, barring a behavioral off the field issue with him. Freeman's going to be around a few years. They're going to give him that to get the recruiting going, get his own guys in there, and learn a little bit about head coaching. I'm telling you guys that. You're going to be mad if you want Freeman out of here right away. It ain't going to happen. I'm telling you it's not. Everybody needs to know that. I don't think that's going to happen. It ain't on the table.
Then that young man has a steep learning curve.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That he needs to get on. Needs to get on Saturday.
Yep. And we knew that going in. Now we're learning how big it is. So it's frustrating. But I can't tell you not to feel how you're feeling. These are fair frustrations. So I thank you for the call, and it's going to be a long week, and then we'll see if we can get that hard to get first win Saturday. Thanks for the call. Call again.
See you, John.
Have a good day. Oh, man. Kent says go hire a priest. I don't know if that'll work, but I might be open to it. Good idea, Kent. Love you, buddy. What else? I had a super chat here I got to get to. These are tough conversations today, folks. I don't love this. And a lot of these lines of questioning I don't like. It doesn't matter. It's fair. After Iowa State, I would have said a lot of these things were out of bounds. Don't ask them. Don't talk about them. I can't do that this week. I can't. When you do what you did in your Notre Dame, everything's on the table, man. I can't tell people not talk about anything right now. Brian, $10 super chat. I really appreciate that. Everybody, just so you know, whenever you donate a super chat, it goes right in to pay for the phone lines. The phone lines are not free. You got to pay to host a line, and then it costs me every second a call is on. So all of that money helps keep this radio show going. So I appreciate that, Brian. 802 area code. Hey, that's another way. People got complaints about waiting for their turn in the line, for the call-in line. You donate money, you bump the line. It's as simple as it goes. I don't know if that's fair or not, but it's the way we're going to do it. So if you donate $10, you get to jump the line. Brian, let's find you. 802. 802. We're talking to you.
John Kennedy.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate the $10. How are you doing? Talk to me. Talk me down off this ledge. People are wound tight, and that's coming from me. Talk me down.
I tell you what, I gotta give you kudos first. I mean, I found you on YouTube. You're enthusiastic. You're passionate for the Irish. I think that's fantastic. I live in Vermont. I'm a season ticket holder. I give money to Notre Dame. I love that university. We got to stop being so pessimistic.
Beautiful. Hey, we need this. We need this balance after the morning that we've had and the direction the calls are going. I like this balance. Lay it out for us.
The thing is, do we have a right to question what's going on? Of course. We're friggin' Irish fans. We're Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans. We get crazy. We haven't won since 1988. We haven't. but we love them. Understand the questions they should be asked. We should actually, but we have to ask them in a positive way. We do. Before we get into the Monday morning quarterbacking and what we should or shouldn't do, we got to support this team. You have no idea what's going on in their locker room. Do you think these guys really want to lose that bad? No, listen, we got our ass handed to us. You got to give Marshall credit. That coach was from Alabama. He was from the Nick Saban tree. 22 people on the transfer on their team and 14 freshmen. So they're doing something right. Were we ready to play? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's a nucleus there. We can't, the questions about fire Tommy Reese and fire Coach Freeman. Are you kidding me? I drank the Kool-Aid this summer. I saw the videos. Obviously that's for recruiting. The only way we're going to do this with the NIL is try to be as creative as we possibly can. We can't get people in the portal because of the academic qualifications to get into the university. Until they bend on that, that's going to be tough. But we got to support this team positive. You don't think these kids look at Twitter and see us pounding on them? That's not the way to do it.
Well, nobody should, man, I say this every day. Nobody should be reaching directly out to players or coaches. That is sick. And recruits, especially recruits, because they're underage, a lot of them. And you have grown adults in their sweatpants, 400 pounds on their laptop being mean to high school kids. So nobody should do that. But it's okay to express your frustration overall. But you said there's a good nucleus. What's the good nucleus? Because right now, I'll be honest, Notre Dame doesn't do anything well, and I can't rely on their defensive front or offensive front now. Talk me off the ledge. You said we have a good nucleus, but even the parts of the team I thought were going to be the best aren't. So where is the nucleus? What can we rely on? And to get it on track and beat Cal, you have to figure out this week what you can do and lean on to go into Cal. So what are those things?
The thing, I listened to Goolsby's show too. He had a lot of good points.
He was worked up. He was worked up, man.
It was passionate. It's good to see because you know what? What's great about that? Now the players are the former players have a vested interest because they like Marcus Freeman. We all got a shot in the face. We all did. We thought we were going to go in there. I had him winning like 42 to 3. You know, I mean, come on. But the thing, we had 11 wins last year. 11 wins. Everybody wanted Kelly gone. Now we got. I've watched your show. You had a couple people on saying they wanted Kelly to stay. Give me a break. Kelly was the ceiling. Sometimes you got to take 2 steps forward or 2 steps backward to go forward.
Yep. Now that,
and you said it. You said it earlier with the recruits. The recruits are going to bail. Did you see Braylon James and all those guys supporting Freeman and the Irish? They're locked and loaded. Now we might lose a 1 or 2 if we keep losing.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, who wants to give up two quarter drives against Ohio State? But you know what? 3 quarters, that team was fantastic, and we loved them during the Ohio State game. We thought, wow, we're giving these guys a run for their money. Guess what? Big letdown, got punched in the face. It's on the offense. If I'm going to play Monday morning quarterback, and I'm not a coach, I'm not going to be hired to coach in Notre Dame football team. I'm a salesperson. But you know what? I think it starts up front. We need to switch it up. I like these kids. I don't want to bash them. Playing well. I think Freeman's got to shake it up. I think you got to get rid of Lugg, and you got to sit them Lugg and Carell. You got to get Patterson right back into the center of things, and you got to put Spindler and Kristofic. You got to change it.
Yeah,
it's not working offensively. Look at this. I got this. You know, we're doing points per game. We're after week 2, we're 115 yards per play. We're 106 total yards. We're 118 pass yards per attempt. We're 77. Quarterback efficiency rating, 112. Rushing yards per attempt, we're 114. We have a lot to do. They have to focus on the offensive side of the ball, and they were practicing yesterday. So what do? I don't know. I'm going to be frustrated, but there is some positive. We can right the ship. And I have faith that they can right the ship. But look what happened. Texas A&M got beat.
Yep. And listen, I am on the record. I am extremely frustrated and asking very tough questions right now about the entire operation is fair, but I am in no way, shape, or form entertaining the idea that Marcus Freeman needs to be out of here. Like, I'm telling everybody that ain't going to happen. It shouldn't happen. He's a new coach. Some learning curve struggles had to be built into this. I just didn't think it'd be this bad. But don't waste your breath or your tweets saying fire Freeman. It ain't going to happen, in my opinion. It's just not. It's not reality.
Well,
that ain't happening.
Lou Holtz was what, 8-5 his first year, and now he has a statue. Nick Saban was 8-6. Kirby Smart was like 8-5 or 8-6 his first year. You got to come off the ledge, people. I know what.
But now, let me bring this up. Let me bring this up to you, though. I think a part of the difference of why people are reacting so bad to this is a lot of the instances you just mentioned and referenced. I think a lot of those guys would have been inheriting programs that were in the dumpster. So their first year would likely be really terrible because that's why they were hired, to clean up a dumpster. That's another part of why people are so mad about this is I rip Kelly for a lot of things too. Non-elite recruiting, non-elite big game results are the two top things. This is just so tough. I'm struggling here. When I'm struggling to find words, life is messed up. I always have something to say. I'm at a loss. This just sucks.
I'm an insufferable optimist. I really am. But if they can right the ship, and the big word is if they can right the ship, and they're valid points about what Freeman inherited, of course. But look, you had BYU won top 15 or 20 teams. We still got Clemson, and we still have USC that are still ranked. We're never going to make this championship or the playoff. Maybe we can get a bowl game. You never know. But the biggest thing these kids in this program needs, we need a friggin' win Saturday.
Yep.
Whatever they can do.
Yeah.
Get one on the book.
Yep. You're right. No, you're 100% correct. You're right on. That's one of my biggest points of the week. Like, there tends to be these themes to each game week. The theme this week is, you ain't in a luxury to be fancy or picky. You absolutely need to find a way to beat Cal by 1 point just to get a win on the board, put a little bit of this fire out. I'm totally with you.
But we got Irish wear green. Everybody get crazy. If you're going to I'm not going until the Stanford game. So if you're at the Stanford game, let's have a beer.
I'll be there.
I'm bringing my godson and my cousin for the first time.
Yep.
So they've never been.
Yeah, I'll definitely be at the Stanford game. But let me ask you this. Are we wearing green to honor Marshall's victory? Aren't those their colors? Is that what we're doing? Honoring that stadium for Marshall?
It's a different shade of green, John. It's a different shade of green.
Like that's the kind of week we're having, though. Even this great promotional Irish idea is turned against us. Everybody wear green and honor Marshall's colors. I love it. Oh, man. I got to tell you, though, Brian, thanks for the call. Very thoughtful. Please call again.
Listen, you're doing a stand-up job, man. Go Irish.
Thank you. Go Irish. Man, I'm telling you, I got some good callers, man. You guys are on the ball. Everybody has good thoughts. Even unrealistic ones are good ones this week. You know what? I had something else I had to say here. Here's an issue. And again, this is an issue I didn't expect to have to this extent, but it's now incredibly relevant and now something we have to navigate and deal with. Let me present this to you guys. Here's the deal, right? I said when I did my immediate anger live stream call in right after the game and we lost, one of the things I said is Now, since your big picture goals for the season, maybe back end sneaking in the playoff at 11-1, maybe having 10-2 and making a New Year's 6 and then winning that game, that ain't going to happen. Then I guess you could go 10-2. It'd be a miracle. So I'm marking those out. What that means is you are no longer playing for anything elite this year. So to me, that naturally indicates get some younger guys out there. Build for the future. When Marcus does have more experience, we're further down the road. And then we have more talent. Marcus's talent and his vision. Not playing just off of the Kelly guys. All of that. That all makes sense to me. But I don't know if the staff is going to operate that way. Like, can they afford to operate that way when you're so desperate to stop the bleeding now? That's, I guess, my question. How do you measure the desire and the need, the dire need to stop the bleeding now versus we ain't winning anything we wanted to win this year. We got to build for the future and play these young guys. Where do you balance those out? How do you calculate where that is? Because the next thing that needs to come here, folks, is accountability. Accountability. When you find out everything you were trying to do to prepare for a game and then do it at home was wrong, where's the accountability? And I know that's easy to say. Every coach gets up there after a bad loss. Accountability. It starts with me. Accountability. Yeah. I want results. So what does accountability mean in this dynamic? I'm getting to the point where I need you benched. And if that means I have a younger guy that comes in there and doesn't have the experience, so what? The season is ruined as far as big picture goals. And if you're an older guy and you're not making plays, you're done. Like, where's the accountability? If you were number one on the depth chart and you earn that position all through summer and then you suck in the games, I guess you don't play anymore. Like, where's the accountability? It's like a mob hit. Someone has to answer. Okay? Someone has to answer for that dead body in the stadium. And it's us. We're the dead body. Who's going to answer for it? That's my issue with this. Someone has to answer when you do this. It isn't just trust us, accountability behind the scenes. We all need to be better, and then we're going to show up Saturday and be ready to beat Cal. Someone needs to answer for this. You don't get to just do this and then tell everybody it'll be okay next week. We're going to hold ourselves accountable. No. So I need to know what that accountability looks like. Does this staff have the balls to play younger guys or backup guys if the starters aren't playing well? Do they have the balls to take that offensive line and say, you were supposed to be great. You're not blocking anybody, so you're not playing. I thought there had to be a standard here. A standard, especially in Notre Dame Stadium, especially at home. A standard of acceptable play. We're not getting it. So how does it change? And where's the accountability? But there's a line there between trying to win some games, make sure you try and keep recruiting together this year versus prepping for the future. Bad spot to be, folks. It's just a bad spot to be. 281, this conversation ain't fun. You're on the air.
Hey, John, how you doing? This is Steve.
How are you, man? Good morning. Thanks for the call. I've been better as far as Notre Dame's concerned. Where are you at with all of this?
Disgusted, to say the least. All the good feelings we had after I was at the Ohio State game a week ago and how good we all felt in a loss, but a competitive loss, even though we weren't happy with the offense. All that.
Yeah, totally different dynamic. Totally different
direction we felt we had.
Yeah, totally different direction.
After this weekend, it's completely thrown out the window.
Yep.
The offense still is horrible.
Yep.
The offensive line is still horrible. I
Yep.
mean, we sat there and watched. You can watch video after video of the offensive line that they'll just have somebody straight in front of them, and then but two different people will just completely disregard and let that guy come screaming through and blow out the play. So we want to look at, why is our run game bad? Why is our pass game bad? Well, none of it can function if the offensive line doesn't do their job. Tyler Buckner can't function. Now he's hurt. We still don't know the extent of that yet. We're going to find out soon, but it doesn't look good. I mean, that looks like a call. That's the way he fell with the defender on him is the exact way you break a collarbone.
It looked
Sam
just like
Bradford at
it
OU
looked like
broke
the
his quad
Texas quarterback.
the
It
same
looked
way.
like Ewers. What's his name? Ewers.
got- yeah.
Same.
Absolutely. Earlier in the day,
Yep.
Ewers, got injured the same way, with the defender falling, with him on his side, falling straight on his shoulder.
Yep.
So now, Pine, all the stuff that we're doing with Buckner, the learning curve, whatever that he's, struggles in figuring stuff out for him, is the same stuff I wish we would have done a year ago when Kelly was so high on Cone. And Cone was what he was for what we needed, as far as just, hey, we're going to go out and we want to win games, which is great. But I wish we could have gotten Buckner in the fire and let him learn, because now we're seeing all those pains a year later.
That's a really interesting point, because last year when Cone came in, I do remember debate and discussion on my program of, is your better long-term play throwing Buckner in there with, a pretty decent team and trying to get that development going, or hold that off
100%.
for a year and go with Cone? They decided to go with Cone, and they ended up having a winning year. But that was an actual debate. I remember bringing it up and having that debate. Because we needed to get Buckner developed, and Buckner he hasn't developed since high school. ACL, now whatever this is, COVID, not getting the job last year. He's going to be undeveloped when he's 90.
Exactly. So I like Pine when he came in against Wisconsin, the short spurts that we had with Pine, because Pine's got that moxie, he's got that gamer attitude. Yeah, he has that. But at the same time, there's a ceiling with Pine. As much as I want to say I like him, there's a ceiling with him, just like there was a ceiling with Brian Kelly as a head coach. So and Pine looked. We're talking about, okay, where are we going to go, Pine or Angeli now, because Buckner's hurt, and it's probably going to be for more than a week or two. So Pine looked horrible in the blue and gold game, and he looked horrible on Saturday. Yeah, he finally had to pass to Mara at the end when it was basically too late at that point. But he came right in and immediately threw a horrendous interception right to the linebacker. Receivers aren't driving on the ball to help the quarterback when he's putting it in tight windows. There's something you've got to have at this level of play. You've got to be aware of your surroundings. You've got to be aware of your surroundings. A receiver has to feel that corner close to him and know, I've got to go drive for that ball, that pass that's coming at me, instead of just standing like a statue and letting the corner drive on the ball to pick it off, which is what happened to Buckner.
So is it players? But where do we, in order to fix something, I have to be able to identify exactly what's causing the problem. So that's where this gets very tough. Is this talent? Is this development? Is this just not execution? Is it play calling? Like, there's all of that in the mix, and I have trouble parsing out.
Combination of all.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing, because I think you're right, but then that makes the fix a lot harder when it's multivariate. When it's a multivariate equation with all these things stirring in the pot together, that's the hardest thing to fix, because there's not one thing you could change. And that's where that's where I'm stuck as far as building a bridge to get through the rest of this year without us all driving off a cliff. It's a very rough spot to be.
I really think the least of the problem is the talent issue. I think that's the least of our problem. I think it's a matter of want to. I think it's a matter. Do you care enough to fight and have some pride about where you're playing? So we out talent Marshall, but Marshall cared more about what they were doing. They had a better direction, a better plan. They cared a lot more about having respect for themselves and how they're going to look. And what am I going to be able to say after myself after I play this game? Did I give everything I've got? Marshall did that on every single level.
Yep.
Everything they had.
Marshall,
and our players did not.
I'm telling you, man, I really owe Marshall an apology. I was out here talking about Notre Dame being able to open it up, doesn't have to be perfect to win, work on some things. Marshall came in with a plan and they executed that plan unbelievably well. And they kicked the crap out of Notre Dame. We're not fazed by the moment at all. They couldn't give two dumps about Notre Dame Stadium and touchdown. Jesus, they came in there, beat the hell out of us at our place, and I am depressed over it.
Absolutely. They came in with fight and desire, and we came out thinking, hey, we're going to win because we are better. We're just talent-wise, we're better than this guy. And that's and their desire they've just flat out outplayed us at every facet of the game.
Yep, and they wanted it more. I can't handle the other team wanting it more. That's always something that's bothered me when you're at home and all you want is Notre Dame to win and you feel like they're not putting the effort out. It's frustrating. I'm sorry. Keep going. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. This is your show, so you can do what you want. So,
oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Reese? Yeah. So Reese is an issue. What do we hear a lot about when Florida was dominating or any of these other, and Alabama when they're not? Speed kills. And we're not putting our playmakers like Tyree. Tyree barely played.
I don't understand it.
It was between him and his effort in the practices. I don't know what it is.
Me neither.
But he barely played on Saturday.
Is there something going on with him, man? Is there something going on? Is he in the doghouse with these guys? Because it seems to me for an offense that lacks any spark, finding any way to get him the ball in space any way you can, passes, runs, pitches, anything, you should be getting your guys the ball and hope they do something with it. It's your best chance at an offense right now. Why isn't Tyree a bigger part of the run and pass game? I want an answer. Why?
Tyree's supposed to be running back one.
But what's going on?
Three. He's at best three right now. As far as what we've seen on the field, he's at best at least placed in there to be three. And, we used to use Theo Riddick in the slot a lot. That's somewhere where Tyree could excel at, especially with Avery Davis gone. Tyree could excel at that, get him in space. Just like the only person we've seen getting the ball in space is Styles, and he's performed great for the times that he's got it. Tyree got one ball in space on Saturday, and made a first down with it, or at least right close to it. Made a good play, made a couple people miss, like we expected that he would. So why aren't we doing that more? We're struggling on offense to move the ball. Get Lindsey, get Styles, get Tyree in space. Find something creative, get him in space. It shouldn't be hard. Or it shouldn't be as hard as we're making it to be.
But
Instead of running,
I agree with you.
Inside zones that we keep running with Estimate and Diggs, they're too slow.
Yep.
They're too slow. We're running draw plays from 5 yards deep and gives the defenders, the linebackers and everything, able to hit the gap, which they're doing because our offensive line isn't blocking. So, if we're going to run the ball, line up under center. I don't care if Buckner hasn't done it before. Teach that during the week. Say, hey, this is what we're doing. If we're going to run the ball, we need to get pushed, challenge these guys manhood. Like I'm so sick of Zeke Correll being center. We had Patterson, that was our center in 2020, came in second in the Remington Award, and then immediately we move him to guard. When he came back from injury, we moved him to guard. Why? Center is the most important position on the offensive line as far as communication. Look at what the defense has set up. Be able to communicate to the rest of them. Be able to communicate to the quarterback, hey, this is how I'm seeing these guys blitzing. And for what it's worth, Correll isn't doing the job. Put Patterson back at center. Like I've been screaming this for a year and a half, not understanding why Patterson was not put back at center.
Well, you need to do something because what you're doing now isn't working at all. You're getting no push at all, and the protections are bad. And now you're getting into where even like running back blitz pickups bad. Diggs had a bad miss. I can't even believe just a total whiff on an assignment. Like you just have issues. And when I ask about accountability, they're running what they thought was their best offensive line out there already. So now I'm asking for accountability, and all these coaches who are paid to analyze this ran out what they thought were the best guys. I'm seeing that they're not. Do you expect a change at the offensive line this week? Do you think this was drastic enough they're going to change either positions with Patterson or bring another guy in? Is it at that point? That would be accountability.
I would expect one, but I don't. I don't expect them to change because we don't see them changing anything. They better, after losing to Marshall, they better do something. And the other thing is our D-line. What happened to our defensive line? That's been a rock-solid piece, for the most part, for our defense for a handful of years.
Underwhelming.
We're getting nothing from
listen,
our D-line.
Everybody's mad at Kent.
Kent
here, our Ohio State guy, who's in the chat because he has to follow my show and give me a hard time. He was saying, y'all wanted Al Washington, you're going to get him. Good recruiter, but when it comes to
where I was going.
Yeah, and it's like, but all the Ohio State people told me, you want him and you're liking that talking and that recruiting, go for it, buddy. But when it comes to development and instituting a game plan on Saturdays, you're going to regret it. Here I am after 2 weeks, and the defensive line, if they haven't regressed, they definitely haven't gotten any better from last year. They are not performing at the way we need them. So maybe Kent's right, and nobody in Notre Dame land wants to hear it.
Right. My best friend that I went to the Ohio State game, and he's a huge Buckeye fan, has been. So we've fought for years. But when we got Al Washington from them, knowing how bad their defense was a year ago, and when we got him, I asked him, like, hey, what's the deal with this coach? He's like, well, our linebacker, because he coached linebackers there at Ohio State, not the D-line like he's doing for us. He said, well, our linebackers were never, all year long, in the right position the whole year. And so that's one big reason they got rid of him. So, yeah, he came in. Seems like he was recruiting really great, which is wonderful. But our D-line is doing nothing. Foskey's finally got a sack on Saturday. But nothing. We're not really getting anything else out of him. But it's the entire defense. It's not just Foskey. It's the entire defensive line. We're just getting pushed back, just like the offensive line is getting pushed around. And those are our two biggest deficiencies as far as for what it can do to affect the game. Those are the two biggest issues we're having. Our D-line's not getting after the quarterback. And when they do get through, they're not getting home. And our offensive line is doing nothing, which affects the entire offense. It either rushes the quarterback on a pass play or it gives the running back no lanes to run.
Yeah.
It's a dumpster fire across the board.
You're really in a tough spot. Somebody was asking about Estime or like why Tyree's not more that lead feature back. Do you think some of it is now they realize they cannot run the ball and they want Estime's bigger body to at least drag forward for 2 yards? Because he's getting hit in the backfield. Half the times Estime gets the ball, he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Do you think some of that is they've already shied away from doing that with Tyree because he's smaller and you just need a guy to work through traffic because there's never a hole? What is going on? Tyree was supposed to be a big feature and he ain't.
I mean, that's the only explanation for a reason that Estime would be the lead back as far as what we're doing. Because, hey, we don't trust our O-line to block anything. So we got to have somebody that can at least maybe push that linebacker back a yard or two so we can get something rather than 3 yards in the backfield. Because if Tyree gets hit in the backfield, yes, he's elusive, he's quick, but if he gets arms around him, he's down. And which is something that we didn't have an issue with Kyron Williams because he had such incredible balance on his lower half that if he gets hit, he wasn't going down first cut. And the two biggest people I missed on our offense, and it is what it is. We got to move forward. But the two biggest people I've missed from our offense the last couple of years, is Kyron Williams for this year. Obviously, he just left, but Tommy Trimble as well. Tommy Trimble was an absolute beast, and we used him as a fullback a lot, even though he was a tight end. We used him as a fullback. He would hit a defender and blow them up, and we missed a guy like that. As soon as he left, I was like, oh, God, we're going to miss him.
And you know what else, too? Here's the other thing. Kyron covered up a bunch of bad blocking. Bad blocking by all the footwork behind the line and finding a crease. Like, Kyron covered up a lot of bad blocking, including on the play. What was it? North Carolina? What was it? The long play where he reversed and went all the way down the field. Bad blocking caused that.
Was North Carolina.
Yeah.
He was a huge reason we beat Clemson.
Yeah.
Because of all the blocks he picked up.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's rough. So
that's all want to. That's the part that's all the want to.
Right.
Do I want to make this block? Do I want to get in there? Do I want to be a team player to do what this team needs to help us be successful? And nobody's doing that right now. I think Tyler Buckner has the want to, but he's just experienced. He's working through issues, and we need everybody to help pick that up.
And you could see his frustration even before the injury. You could see how frustrated he was. He's a guy trying to navigate a lot of dynamics all working against him. And he's trying to develop as the leader. You just have a melting pot of a bunch of really challenging circumstances. So I thank you for the call, my friend. And we're going to see if we can notch win number 1. We just need it any way it looks.
They better beat Cal wearing the green jerseys.
Oh, they better. All right. Give me a call again, my friend. Thank you.
All right, John. Take care.
Have a good one. Oh my gosh. Notre Dame fans are delusional. Notre Dame is dead. Cal's going to drag Notre Dame's corpse up and down the field. Like, you guys, normally that's kind of thing. You know me. I would see it. My blood pressure would go up and I'd get all worked up. I just don't have it in me. I don't have it in me. I'm not in the position to defend Notre Dame today. Who do I think I am? I defend Notre Dame on a lot of things, but only when it's justified. I can't defend him today. So it really hurts me to see this. But it's the way it is. 574, give me some more. You are on the air, my friend. And thank you very much for the super chat. Again, if you want to jump to the top of the phone line bank, donate today.
How's it going, John?
It's okay. How are you?
It's kind of a depressing day here on campus. Everyone's just upset about that terrible game on Saturday. I was there and I melted and it was miserable there. You know,
I did want to ask you, because I know you are local, I really am wondering. I am going to the game. I'll be there Saturday, but I did want to ask, tell me more about the vibe. Can you feel it in the air? Like, what is the vibe?
Everyone just wants to cry and puke at the same time.
Yeah. And you know what, though? That's healthy, though. I actually like hearing that because it shows me that everybody else realizes the significance of this and it's hurting them too. So I actually like hearing that. I don't want us all to be sad, but I like that people care that much and they know something big and bad happened.
I know. I think a lot of people understand the weight of losing to Marshall after losing to Ohio State. It just sets up the wrong tone for the season.
It's very tough. We're in a very, very bad spot. So where would you go from here? How do you right the ship against Cal? It doesn't need to look pretty, but you need to apply a tourniquet, stop the bleeding. How do we get this done, especially if we're dealing with another quarterback and all these issues? How?
I don't know how you do it. I mean, I guess you just have to, I think the best option is just to start replacing like the seniors, saying, hey, if you don't play well, we're going to bench you and we're going to put all the freshmen in. And that's probably what I'll end up doing because, I mean, we saw they couldn't lead for 2 straight games. We need to put the freshmen in and just hope they can rebuild for the future. But it's going to be a rough go of it now.
See, I've been struggling with this. The dynamic you brought up is very interesting. I'm struggling, okay? I said that too. Now you're out of the running for your big picture goals. Now you kind of have to let some of the youth play to get ready for the future. But you also have to balance that with, you can't just empty out the freshman squad and then go 0-12 this year. Like, how do you make that balance of accountability for older guys not playing well, getting younger guys experience, but also not having a really embarrassing year that then starts to affect recruiting and other things? How do you balance all those items out at the same time?
It's just really difficult. I mean, I don't want to be Marcus Freeman in this situation.
It's a bad spot.
You got to start saying, hey, if you're not playing well in this series, we're going to put you out and put the freshmen in. It's probably just going to be a rotating roster.
It's rough. And here's the other dynamic. You brought up how it feels in South Bend and on campus today. I am really interested to feel what it's like Saturday. So I'm going. It's the first game of the year I'm going to be at. I've been around Notre Dame home games a long time, and I know all the different vibes. And I think I know this vibe, but I'm going to be open-minded. But I think it's going to be the Walking Dead on campus Saturday. I do. I do not expect a lot of buzz at all.
Oh, no. It's definitely not going to be an excited campus. I mean, you lose your first 2 games, you're out of the playoff chase, you're playing Cal, and then you have to put on these green jerseys to remember it. It's going to be a nightmare scene. I mean, it already is a fiasco, but it feels like Bob Davie in 2001 when Vieri got fired.
I do think it feels like that now, and I can't deny that looking at the record. However, there are going to be brighter days ahead for Marcus Freeman. Even if some of the recruiting eliteness gets chipped away due to this season or whatever, I still really do think there is a light at the end of the tunnel here, and it will get righted. But this is a very, very bad start and a very bad spot to be in.
Oh, I know. And whatever happens this season, I do not blame this on Marcus Freeman at all. I blame it on Jeff Quinn and all the coaches that came before that destroyed the roster. They're the ones to blame for all this mess. And I think Brian Kelly knew about Tyler Buckner because he was injured in the Cincinnati game.
Yeah, there's no doubt Brian Kelly knew about the roster inefficiencies because he was the architect of every one of them. So Brian Kelly's intimately aware with the deficiencies on the roster. There's no way around that. So I don't know. Do you think we're going to get the win against Cal, or are we in for another rough week? What do you think? I can't count anything as a win anymore. Where do you think this goes this week?
Well, it really just depends on how they play. I mean, Cal is a bad coach too, so let's be honest with ourselves. It's probably going to be a dogfight, and I think Notre Dame will win it on a last-second touchdown, and everyone will have their hopes up again. Oh. But then you got to play North Carolina, so it's going to be a rough season. I'm just going to say that.
We just need a win to partially stop the bleeding now as much as we can. So I appreciate the call. I appreciate the report from South Bend, and I'll be there Saturday. We'll see if we can eke out a win.
Yeah, let's hope we can get a win and hope our D-line gets a little bit bigger over the weekend.
Oh, and tougher too. Thanks for the call. Have fun.
Yeah.
Beautiful South Bend, Indiana. Probably rainy today, just like Chicago. Oh my God, this is just so rough. Any word on Buckner? I'm just assuming he's out for a while. I've been waiting for news. 7:08. The situation is not great. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. What do you make of our current Notre Dame situation, my friend? Good morning.
Well, I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by the fan base. I'm embarrassed by the way that they didn't even compete on Saturday. It's like they showed up and just expected Marshall to lay down and then got hit in the mouth. And by the time it was over, they were like, oh, crap, we better start playing.
Yep. That now explain to me. You said you're disappointed in the fan base. Explain to me exactly what you mean. What you've seen or heard that has had you in that spot.
Well, I mean, you've talked about it, and then the way people have talked, like your last caller and callers before that about, oh man, the sky is falling and all this chicken little bull crap. That it's like we've been in this situation before. I mean, look at when we went 1-3 with Kelly. Remember that? Does nobody remember how we turned that around? I mean, I know that was a different time and different players and all that kind of stuff, but I lived through the Bob Davie years, through the Charlie Weiss years, through the Ty Willingham years. Nothing can be worse than that. Also, I'm a Cubs fan, so this kind of disappointment goes hand in hand here.
Hey,
know?
hey, at least you got your one in 2016. You got your one. And all you Cubs, I'm a
Yeah,
Sox
but,
guy.
you know-
All you Cubs people said, just give me one ring and I'll never ask for anything else again. And then you're all mad every year after that. You all said it. All of you guys said it. You, all my Cub fan friends, just let us win Game 7. I'll never ask for anything from the sports gods again. And now you're all mad. Now you're all mad at the Ricketts.
I'm not mad at the Ricketts. I just wish they would spend money like the Yankees because they got it.
They do, but it's
this
on.
is Notre
They
Dame
do,
here.
they do spend the money, but it's on the rooftop. It's on the hotel. It's on buying up all the property. It ain't on guys. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay, so
But
yeah, go ahead.
my thing is, we need to pump the brakes on fire Freeman. Oh, he's a bad coach. It's 2 games, guys. Pump the brakes, okay? Let's give him, like you said, give him some time. Get these recruits in, because from what I'm seeing, even Rico Flores tweeted out and then posted it about how the big 3-headed monster receiver is coming.
Yep, I
You know
saw
what I'm
that too,
saying?
and that's
So
what I
I'm
meant.
excited about that.
That's what I meant when I said a lot of these 17 and 18-year-old recruits that are kids are being more mature about the dynamic than the Notre Dame fans that are like 50. Like, I mean, it's amazing. It was pretty damn, you know what, man? I was impressed seeing our recruits when all of the countries making fun of Notre Dame on public Twitter, to have those guys stand up, put it out publicly and say, no, man, we love Notre Dame. We can't wait to be there. Those are the type of players that make you beat teams like Marshall and Ohio State. I love that. Those guys are being more mature than half the fan base.
Right. Well, and see, and that's and like you said before, and I've said this too. Well, one of your callers, like, who gave you the $10, like he said, don't you think that these recruits see all the stuff that we as fans tweet about them, or you know, the players that currently are on the roster, how we talk to them or try to interact with them? Don't you think they see this kind of stuff or watch these shows and hear us talk crap about them? And then, like, we talk about the recruits. If I'm a recruit and a fan base is sitting here talking about me, why would I want to go and play for that school? You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me, that's just stupid. Like, why are they talking crap about me because, oh, I wore some other team's gloves or something like that? You know, it's just so dumb. And I don't know. I find it funny. It's par for the course for being a Notre Dame fan, I guess. But
it's always something. It's never boring. It's always something.
Here's how we turn this all around.
Please tell me how. Tell me how. Give me the roadmap.
So he was the friend during the off season and all that, did all the fun stuff, right? Now it's time to rein that in and start being the father and disciplining and you know, spanking the kids a little bit or giving them consequences or something. We don't need to bench people because that's not going to do anything. Maybe start giving a little bit more reps to a couple of people here and there. Like, I don't know, Tobias Merriweather, for instance. Like, from what I've heard, he was phenomenal during camp. I don't know why he's not playing, you know, or put Xavier Watson. Jaden Thomas just does not need to see the field because he didn't compete at all for that interception. That was the pick 6. So, you know, replace him with Wilkins or, you know, somebody who's played.
Right
like
now,
Wilkins
their
or
wide receiver rotation right now is 3 deep. They are literally 3 guys are getting the bulk of those shares and balls, and that's not real life. Like, you can't expect to function as a high-level football team and get high-level results when that's your wide receiver room. So again, that is a multivariant problem. Freeman and company Freeman didn't cause that issue, but now it's his problem to navigate it until you get further down the path and bring your own guys in. That's where we're stuck.
Right.
How do you get out of it?
Right. I mean, you got to play these guys.
Man, that's tough.
I mean, get experience on there. I mean, like I said, they brought Xavier Watts to play 2 ways, and he played one way on Saturday. He needs to be playing both ways every game. maybe like these little games like Marshall, I guess, or UNLV, play in one direction. But these big games like Ohio State, he needs to be on the field both sides, man.
Yeah, it's
but
rough.
With the coaching, Freeman needs. But with the coaching, he needs to do like he did with Brian Mason and challenge them, because as you saw, the special teams was the brightest spot we had on Saturday.
Yep.
Because he challenged them after week 1.
Yep.
And look what happened. Brian Mason did his job and got his guys ready. Now he needs to do that with everybody else. It's a lack of discipline that we have, and we need to get that discipline.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And
this is a wake-up call.
Yeah, this week's a big week. This week's a big week. It sounds stupid to say playing Cal's a big week, but how you show up, do you have pride? Are you mad about what happened and you're going to change it? Right. That's what I need to see. Right. That's the test this week.
We need a Drew Tranquil to say these people that we have coming up, they better be afraid, because we're coming.
Oh, this is just such a bad spot to be in. It's very frustrating. I appreciate the call, and we'll just see if we could scrape out a win, because the schedule gets tougher after this week.
Oh yeah, we'll be all right. I think we can pull off 10 wins and 11 with the bowl game.
Wow, that's impressive. That'd be a great turnaround. I'm all for it. Thanks for the call, my man. Have a good day. Good week.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you. You too. Go Irish.
Go Irish. Hey, man, at least people are finishing off with the Go Irish. Not everybody's bailed on us. Chris S., $4.99 super chat. Appreciate it. The Freeman press conference starts in 30 minutes. Hopefully he talks about changes and not excuses. I get it. I said this in the summer, and I mean it. When Freeman's doing all of his polished stuff he does and the things he talks about and how relatable it is and all of that, the personality, the vibe, yeah, it's the type of guy you want to see him succeed because of how he carries himself, all of that. Even in the summer, I was saying, this is all gravy now, but you lose one game you're not supposed to lose, all that's going to go out the window. That's where we're at. The fan base is worked up. I'm telling you guys, firing Freeman ain't on the table. It's just not, folks. It's not. That's not going to happen. It's unrealistic. I'm telling you. You can't think that. It ain't going to happen. Oh, we got a couple other super chats. I got to get to that. Chris S., I appreciate the donation. Patrick, what do we got here? Patrick, $5 super chat. A bunch of people who have the level of JV football that have only coached, think their kid's flag football team, talking about what Freeman should do as a coach. I get it, but that's what fans do. Patrick, I really appreciate the 5 bones. I think that's what fans do. You react. Now, the hard part is a lot of times we react, but we don't have all the details. You know, like it's easy to say what should or shouldn't happen, but I'm not in those meeting rooms. I don't know who's healthy and who isn't healthy and all that. I don't even know. Fire Freeman shouldn't even be a thought. Exactly. It really shouldn't. It's not even on the table. It's just not. Randy gives him 2 years, if not any better, gone. If it's still really bad in 2 years and looks this disorganized and disjointed and you're still losing to teams you have more talent than, then you're talking about real heat. If you're 2 years down the road on that, then I'm open to talking about real heat. But right now, no. 818, the situation's not great. You're on the air.
Playoffs?
I just hope we can win a game.
I just want to win a game. I mean, who the hell do we think we are to be talking about playoffs?
Yep.
Sean.
I know.
Imagine horror.
It's bad.
When I'm at this Indiana Beach and I'm riding coasters in the morning, I'm thinking, I'll watch the game tonight. I'll watch it on Peacock or whatever. I get to the halftime score. What? All right. Looks like we got another Toledo on our hands, but they'll probably catch steam in the second half. All right. I mean, I just imagine what happened when I got to that, I don't know, 5:30, 6 o'clock. I checked my phone, and I see we're down by 11 points. And, oh, then now we're at 26-21, but there's 10 seconds left. I'm like, we just lost this game. And sure enough, we lost the game. So
I would rather ride the Hoosier Hurricane all day at Indiana Beach, baby. That sounds like a lot more fun. I remember the Hoosier Hurricane and the commercial Indiana Beach.
Yeah, there's more than corn in Indiana. Anyway, that I had a blast. I'll say that. Thank God I didn't have to subject myself to the game. I got to come home, watch the extended highlights, and then hear everybody talk about it. I got a bunch of bullet points here, but I'm gonna go through them right now, and then we can talk about a couple of them, and then you can go to your next caller, and maybe it'll make its way into the rest of the show. But
beautiful.
Here's what I want to say, John.
Let it rip. Go ahead.
All right. Okay, number one, Brian Kelly. Again, going back to good at beating bad teams, an experienced coach. Blah blah blah. I mean, to me, that's the biggest factor right now, John. This is a guy who, if we still had, and again, this is not a knock on Freeman or anything, but let's just understand a game like this, Brian Kelly probably wins, and we shouldn't be surprised that that's the case. That's the first thing. Second,
agreed.
Nick Saban, what was it? Southeast Louisiana State. Nick Saban lost to, I think it was first year at Alabama. Now, you can talk about roster issues, but Saban had one thing Marcus Freeman doesn't have: a lot of head coaching experience. So again, there's been other big coaches that have lost games like this, and I'm sure their fan bases are like, "The sky's falling, the sky's falling." I mean, who wouldn't? Who would have saw Nick Saban winning? How many is it now, John? 6 national titles he has? 5 national titles? 7 national titles? I don't remember. The best thing I can say is there's no fool's gold here. We didn't go through a whole season like with Charlie Weiss in 2005 and 6 where we thought, oh, we got a really, really good team. This is the guy for us. And then we see a 2007 year where the roster's damaged and then he can't coach. We are seeing everything right here at the beginning. He's 0-3. Everything is so glaring. We're all making it bigger than what it is. I can say that. There's no question. But also, we know exactly where the problems are right now, and that's the positive of all this.
You know what?
It isn't like we've gone through 5.
You know what? I like this. I appreciate that. I like this. I like that angle.
And John,
I like that. I love
point.
that. I love that angle. You're taking where we're at and how rough it is, and then trying to find any way to use that to accelerate solving those problems. I think that's the only and the healthiest way to process where we're at right now. It just doesn't make me feel better emotionally. I like your angle, though. Keep going. I like it.
I totally get it. Yeah. The couple of points I'm going to get to right after this are the ones I think are really, really crucial that we understand, and no one's talked about it yet, so I'm glad I've got this point. But on that same note, John, I got to admit, there was a part of me. Look, I was thinking my prediction was 9-3. I thought 9-3 because I just thought Freeman's going to lose a game or two. He's probably not supposed to lose.
Yep, that would have been my prediction.
Win a game or two. He's not supposed to win.
That would have been my prediction.
More like 7-5.
9-3 was where I was at too. 7-5. All right. Fine.
Well,
I got to see more to get to 7. I got to see the offense do something before I even see 7. They're not good at anything. They can't do anything. They're not good at anything, man. They don't do anything well. They can't run to set up the pass, and they can't pass to set up the run. It's enough to make you lose your mind.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's why I thought that there was a chance that this year it could get worse before it got better. I'm like, there's a real significant, because I was thinking about the same thing, John. What if Tyler Buckner gets hurt? Then we're really looking bad right now. So that's why I thought 9-3, that's a pipe dream. Even I thought, like, that's if he's healthy all year. What if he's not? And that's where I was starting to look at. Maybe some of those people out there that are saying 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, maybe they're on to something. Okay, go to the next point. All right. First of all, Freeman's got to sit down with Lou Holtz. Not just Lou Holtz, any mentor he has, he needs to sit down with. And I'm sure he's doing that. And talk about motivation, psychology, whatever needs to be done. I think this is the guy that's going to do everything in his power to become a better coach. I think we understand that. So let's not fire him yet, okay? I really think that he's going to get this figured out. But here's what I want. These are the 2 big points I want to get to. Okay, Notre Dame has got to up their ante on allowing transfers in the offseason. Marshall had, 22 transfers? They were able to fill in holes like that. Guys that knew it was their last chance to play somewhere, and that was their whole game. Notre Dame was looking at Ohio State in the offseason. Marshall was looking at Notre Dame in the offseason. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. If Notre Dame would allow more transfers to fill in those gaps, they have to start. Look, I'm not expecting them to allow 20 transfers in one season, but we got, quarterback issues, wide receiver issues could have been taken care of with that. And then the last point, John, and I'll let you talk and whatever. Okay, we talked about being chummy with the players.
Yeah.
Here, I really thought about this. I think I know what the bigger problem is. If the assistant coaches not feeling like someone's breathing down their neck and they better produce like they may have under Brian Kelly, I think they're too comfortable with Marcus. And I think the assistant coaches are letting this team down, but I think they're a hell of a lot better than what we're seeing. But I just think that chummy attitude Freeman's had. Look, he's going to figure this out. Whenever you get any new endeavor in life, where you get promoted or elsewise, there are going to be growing pains. And I think he understands right now, like the callers earlier were saying about being a father now to these guys and being a disciplinarian.
Mm-hmm.
Also with the assistant coaches, they have to feel like, okay, the heat's on. And I think things are going to start getting better now. I really do. If we have Pine, we're going to. Well,
what do you run then? What do you run then?
You know what? Pine was still a relatively high. What was he? A 4-star guy coming out of high school or a high 3-star guy? Look, a lot of programs have quarterbacks like that and do very, very well. So, they just figure this out and stop playing wussy ball. I mean, seriously, I think a lot of it, dude, is just beat the guy in front of you. I think you're going to see a team this week that comes out. Whether or not we win, I have no idea. But you're going to see a team that, and if not, I'll be shocked. And we'll be talking about this on Monday as an existential crisis. But I really do believe there's going to be a lot of fight in this team this week.
Well, there has to be. So it's a gut check week, and it tests your leadership. You need your leaders to step up and stop the bleeding. But really good points, my friend. I appreciate it, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them. Thank you.
You got it, buddy. Have a good one, John.
You too. Have a good week. All right. Couple of things he said quickly. A lot of people keep referencing first-year records of a lot of coaches that have gone into programs. Lou Holtz, 6-7, I think it was, or something like that, right around 500 first year. Saban, all this. I get those comparisons, but what I'm telling you is a lot of those coaches got hired to go in and clean up dumpster fires. This was not supposed to be that. That's why this isn't looked at the same as those. Those people were cleaning out dumpster fires. Freeman's inheriting a pretty solid, stable program. So that throws off those comparisons right away. This isn't a full teardown rebuild with Marcus. It ain't. So that's number one. The transfer portal negatively impacting Notre Dame. 100%. It's a big deal and it's bad. No way around it. No way around it. And the issue is, I do not see Notre Dame's administration bending the transfer admission rules enough to make Notre Dame a factor in the transfer portal year to year. What I think that does is puts a lot of more pressure on Notre Dame's recruiting operation. Because if you're not able to go in there and pull transfers because of the grades and everything you have to worry and all that, then you have to be perfect in recruiting because you're not going to have that safety net to fill in depth and fill your gaps with you just not. So that's a big issue. That's why Notre Dame recruiting is so much more important to me than it is for some other teams. Notre Dame can't hit that portal. You got to be better with your original recruiting net. And the third thing, he talked about the assistants not getting it done and are they too comfortable, that kind of thing. Again, I don't know, but I'm going to say what I said to start the show. Any question you want to ask is fair game. You don't get to lose it to Marshall at home and get dominated, not have tough questions asked. You don't. You just don't. So that's kind of tough. 707, our situation is not heaven. What's going on today?
Hey, John, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm making it. What you tried to get me to calm down, and I'm really trying. I think I'm being pretty calm. Now that you've thought about this some more, where are you at?
Well, I was going to say, first off, next Saturday when I look around the stadium for you, I'm going to be able to find the guy with the bag over his head, I think.
It's not that bad. I still love them. I'm just very upset and hurt by them.
No, I know. I heard you yesterday, when you were talking about the Twitter with all these guys saying O-line you, and all that. And, my answer to that is O-line you, 0-2.
Yeah, it's rough. I mean, if you're touting yourself as that is your thing, and you're bringing back the guy everybody thought was the architect of the good years of that thing, I need some answers as to why the groups of our team we thought were going to be strengths are not right now. That's a big issue. It's a big issue.
No doubt about it. It's all about coaching. It's all about coaching. Like when you hear coaches, they're going to say it's not X's and O's, it's Jimmy's and Joe's, right? But those are the guys that are successful. Those coaches that are great are going to give credit to the players. But it's really about coaching. Because coaching is where you teach, develop, motivate. That's what's most important, especially with kids that are 18 to 21 years old. They don't know anything yet. You got to teach them, and you got to bring out the passion, Like I was listening to Goolsby when, like you did, but I only heard about the first 30 minutes, and I loved it when he said they're soft, because that's what we're seeing. They're soft. He said it's the worst thing you can say, and he's right.
But who is responsible for that softness? Like, we need to identify the root causes of the problem to appropriately find a resolution. Whose fault is that?
I go back to coaching. You got to, and recruiting, you got to see what kind of people these kids are that you're bringing in, and so for that, I trust Freeman, and he's not going anywhere. Like you said, he's not going anywhere.
No,
and I don't want him to.
Me neither.
But I do want Reeves to go. I think Reeves is the worst culture. He had 4 years as a player at the university, and then 3 years now, or maybe this is his fourth as a coach. I mean, we know his ceiling. He doesn't have answers, and he doesn't, like Goolsby said, I think he said, he's good in the first half because he has a certain script that he probably goes by. So he's got the answers for that. But past that, he doesn't know how to coach on the fly. He doesn't see what can be exposed based on what they're doing to him at the time, And then again, the offensive, there's just so many problems, The offensive line sucks. They suck. I don't care Blake Fisher isn't great this year, and who knows if he's having personal problems with the Easton. I don't know. But I know he's not doing what he did, his first, I would say the first year you came, like he was all about the team. He played fantastic against Florida State in that first game. Like he just dominated, and they scored. But, this year I don't see him, given that same enthusiasm. Like, of course he had Kyron Williams last year that has some sort of energy that is just hardly replaceable. There's a certain kind of people that can come in with that energy, and he motivated the team more than the coaches, I think, because they fed off of him, because he was just a freak out there. Every practice he was jumping around, loving it all. And if we had somebody like that, like Mayer is a freak, and he plays hard, but I don't think he's leading. I don't think he's trying to get in guys' faces and saying, pick it up, man.
You know what, though? Wait a second. You bring up another good point. Where's the player leadership part of this? It's one thing to be yelling and mad after you lose to Marshall. I saw a lot of Notre Dame guys mad after you lost to Marshall at home. And I guess I appreciate seeing that they were mad. I would have liked that rage before you play Marshall and then you come out and kill them because you're so mad you lost to Ohio State. So, but where is the player leadership? So late Saturday in that ball game, I was looking at the TV going, where's my leaders? Somebody needs to step up here and make something happen, and it never happened. So where's your leadership in the locker room?
Yeah. And it's as Goolsby talked about, this brotherhood bullshit. They're all about each other, but you know what? That's not helping them to be better, get each other better. It's just saying, hey, we're all in this together. Big deal.
Well, I'd like you to be all in it together and win.
Right. Or motivate each other.
So,
what we said, you got to get in their faces. And we don't have a leader on offense or defense. I mean, we had Kyron Williams, and he was a leader. He led by example, and his excitement and his passion for being out there on the field. That was what they fed off of last year for the most part.
Here's my problem now. My problem is kind of like you said, the issues are a lot, and a lot of them are overlapping and multivariant issues that involve short-term things, long-term things, coaching, players, personnel, all this scheme, all of it. It seems like it's everything. Let me ask you, how in the hell do you start building something to get out of this? Where do you even start? Like you're desperate for a win now. Where do you start? What the problem I have is I'm having trouble finding anything good to build a foundation to shoot off from. Where the hell do you even start this week, man?
Well, the good thing that I saw from Freeman's press conference was that he kept his composure and he was able to identify the issues. And that's a good first step. He pointed out exactly what was happening. Now, can he correct it? That's another thing. And can he have the right coaches in place that want to take the time to correct it? I'm not a buy-in on Heastan yet. I'm certainly not a buy-in on Rees.
Well, how can you? I mean, look at the results. I'm sorry, but the results be damned. It's bad. It's just bad. I'm sorry. Reese, we all Notre Dame guy want him to succeed. Results are bad. Harry, big tough guy, put guys in the NFL. Right now they're bad. Why are these guys bad?
Yeah, and you have a guy in Freeman that knows a winning culture and knows how to identify problems. And I liked what his press conference was because he did. He identified all the issues, and he said we have to run the ball, and we're not doing it. And that's what Goolsby said because they're soft. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. They're not going out there with passion and anger, and they just don't have that desire that you've always seen from Notre Dame. And I think Lou Holtz, he was 5-6 in his first year. If Freeman loses and goes 3-8, I don't really care now because they have 2 losses. I'm interested in winning championships. So whatever they do now, they have to make changes. And
but the changes need to be geared towards the future. Like what you're saying. This year's burned in a lot of ways. It can't get 3 and 9-ish on you, but you do need to start having an eye towards the future. And then that moves along Marcus's clock of learning all the struggles of being a head coach while you're doing this. So I need to see you getting other guys in here because now you got to get ready for later.
Well, to me, wins and losses now don't matter the rest of the year. What matters is, will they be able to motivate them to stay together as a team? Will they get them to play harder? Will they take chances and play some young kids? Because these old kids, and old, they're not even that old. I mean, Hoff is only a sophomore, and Fisher's only a sophomore. So, they're the old kids. So there's a big time learning curve for Freeman in his first year as a coach. And, it wasn't Holtz's first year as a coach when he came to Notre Dame, and he had a losing record. So there's a lot of growth that needs to happen everywhere. He's got to learn how to win. That's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's proving to be kind of challenging for us. We're only looking at like 9 months now. It's like a 9-month window. I'm still waiting for Notre Dame's new coach to get that first win, man.
It's 2 games in. And like I said, if they go 3-8, I really don't care. If I can see improvement in leadership and teaching and motivating, that's what's really important at this point. None of the wins and losses now matter because it's championship or bust for me. You know, it's always been that way about Notre Dame. This is what they're all about, in my opinion, because I've seen it. I've seen 66, I've seen 77, and I've seen 88. And so I expect it. And, you know, you were winning once every 11 years, and now it's 33 years since you won. It's like, come on, you know?
Yep, it's rough, but it's going to be really interesting this week. Totally unique mission, one I never wanted to have to go on, but this is a unique battle for your pride this week. So thanks.
I'll tell you, I'll be surprised if they win. I'm not expecting a win.
Well, nothing's a guarantee. And the other thing is, people need to realize, I know everybody's worried about the last 2 games. Cal's got a very surprisingly decent defense. Cal's offense is garbage, but they have a very respectable defense and a respectable defensive staff. So if you think it's going to get easier to move the ball, think again. So I'm preparing everybody for that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are blaming Buckner and this and that. And this is like the same thing with him as the same thing with Freeman. It's like his first real year, and it's 2 games in. You know, this poor kid, he played maybe a total of a quarter all of last year. Maybe.
Yeah, it's rough. You know? Yeah, it's rough.
So he didn't even see the field in the Fiesta Bowl. How do you not play him? And how are you not giving Merriweather a chance? Is he hurt?
I don't get it either.
Even see the.
I don't get it either. And that's another reason why it was so critically important that this year the offensive line was good, because that would be the number one thing you could do to help your young quarterback ease into this. And you don't have it, and it's stressing the entire operation. It's very frustrating. But, well, thanks for the call, my friend.
I heard one guy say you got to give Reeves, at least 2 more years.
No, you don't.
And it's like, no.
I don't.
Because right now, in 2023, we have like the number 2 recruiting class. So you have great wide receivers coming in. You have a great offensive lineman coming in. Running backs, defense are all coming in. It's the culture now,
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
I don't know what to say other than, Charlie Weiss, maybe he can come back as offensive coordinator, because he was always a good offensive coordinator. He was a bad head coach.
It was everything. Or you get rid of Reese and you call Scott Frost. He's available. Have him come in right away. That's a Saban alpha move. That is a Saban alpha. That is a Saban alpha move, is what that is. That would be an alpha Saban move.
Well, I'll tell you, I bet he would come in pretty darn motivated after just getting the axe. I bet he'd be pretty ready to go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
A whole new system, So
yeah,
it'd be a tough thing right now, but I don't think you can stay with Reeves. You're just going to be hurting the culture if he stays here. He's hurting them, and he's not good.
That's a problem. That might be an issue.
And then one of the guys, for example, Estime running sideways with pitches and tosses. Grosby said that. Estime is a downhill runner. He's not a cross-country runner.
Well, the problem is he's a downhill runner, which is straightforward, which is where we never block. So maybe that's why he feels obligated to get out to the sides, because there ain't no hole when he runs it up the middle.
Yeah, but that's not the answer with Estime. You do that with Williams. Reeves has to know the difference.
Yeah, or you do that with Tyree, but they don't seem interested in getting him the ball that much. They don't seem like interested in getting him the ball that much. But all right, thanks for the call, my friend. I'm going to wrap up so I can shoot over to Marcus's presser and see what he has to say about this week.
Okay, last thing quick is that somebody complained about the D-line being bad. Well, Cross had 11 tackles. That's pretty damn good for a defensive lineman.
You know what? Howard Cross has been a very pleasant surprise, and I want to give him credit for that. He popped up against Ohio State early as well. Good job on him.
Okay, bud.
All righty. Have a good week. Take care. Don't let it stress you out too much.
and have fun at the game.
Oh, thank you. It'll be nice to get back and see a lot of old friends. I'm not sure about the football, but I'll have fun being in town. All right, folks, that's going to be it. I really want to get over and see what Marcus has to say. I don't understand what's going on with Tyree either. I just thought he'd be a bigger focal point of the offense, and he's not, and that's frustrating. Callers that I didn't get to, I'm sorry. Show is picking up steam. We're getting more callers every day. So I am going to have to start shortening up the calls to let more people in. So that's a moving calculation. But if we're going to get a lot more calls, people are going to have to tighten it up, get to your point so I can let everybody have a chance. Super chats, thank you. I appreciate it very much. Hang in there, guys. Hang in there. It's going to be a long week, but we just have to fight through it. We're the Fighting Irish. That's what we do. Thanks, everybody. Have a good Monday.